Hi everyone, I'm Thomas from Curvo. We've often wondered what's a better return on investment. Is it purchasing a home or using the money to invest in the market? So in this video, we're going to look at two scenarios. The first one, we buy a house, and the second one, we choose to rent, but we invest the remaining funds in index funds. At the end of the mortgage period, we'll compare the value of our house from the first scenario to the value of our investments of the second scenario. So which one is higher, which one is better? Let's find out. Before we start the simulation, we have to collect some data and fill in some numbers. So in the first scenario, where we're actually buying a house, we get a loan from the bank, obviously, and we make a down payment and then we pay our mortgage every month, and we have some maintenance and insurance expenses for the house. Because of inflation, house prices tend to rise over time. So we expect our house to actually be worth more than what we paid for it by the time we fully paid off the mortgage. We make the following assumptions though as well. We're buying a house, let's say a 2-bedroom apartment in Brussels, Belgium, that's being sold for 350,000 euros. So the bank requires us to make a down payment of 70,000 euros. That's 20% of the value of the house. We have to take out a loan for the remaining 280,000 euros. I picked for the simulation a random Belgian bank, the BNP Paribas Fortis, through which we can get a loan of 20 years at a fixed interest rate of 2.54%. This means we have to make monthly payments of 1,489 euros. Obviously, you can get a better mortgage rate yourself by speaking to your bank. However, we pay also a one-time registration tax at the purchase of the house. The tax actually differs per region in Belgium, but it's set at 12.5% in Brussels, which equals to 43,750 euros for our apartment. We spend about 1% per year on maintenance of the property, so that's 3,500 euros. This is for renovations, fixing things around the house, and so on. This cost is obviously subject to inflation, and we use the Consumer Price Index to measure its yearly increase in price. In Belgium, the CPI has increased an average of 1.82% per year since 1994. So our home insurance costs, that's 150 euros per year. This is also subject to inflation, and we pay a yearly property tax of 800 euros, again subject to inflation. So our costs of being a homeowner for the next 20 years, the duration of the entire mortgage can be grouped together after, of course, the initial investment of 136,000 euros in the first year to be roughly 23,000 euros a year. While we're paying back the mortgage, we expect that the value of the apartment will appreciate. We will then make a profit the day that we actually sell it. So in Belgium, changes in the price of houses are measured by the house price index. Following the numbers published by the Belgian government, we calculate that the resale prices for apartments have increased an average of 4.22% per year since 2005. We project our 350,000 euro apartment to be worth 800,000 euros in 2041. That's 20 years from now. Okay. Let's take a look at the second scenario though, to rent and invest. So in the second scenario, we opt to rent instead and use the remaining funds to passively invest our money. So we invest all the costs that we make in the first scenario, for example, the down payment, the mortgage, and so on. But this time we're investing it directly in index funds. So we rent for 20 years, we passively invest what we would have spent on buying the house. We estimate that the rent of a 2-bedroom apartment in Brussels is around 979 euros per month. Due to the inflation, rent prices are also expected to rise every year. In Belgium, the changes in rent prices are measured with the health index, which we calculate to have been growing annually by an average of 1.73% since 1994. So we can now project how much our total cost will be for the next 20 years if we rent. Since we are not owners of the property, we don't actually need to cover maintenance, insurance, or property tax. That's not our problem. So in 2021, our monthly rent is going to be 979 euros, which means our total yearly costs come to 11,749 euros. Let's project ourselves into 2041. The rent's going to be 1,379 euros, so a yearly total of 16,548. In this scenario, we're going to invest whatever we're not spending on the house. We're going to take the costs if we had bought a house, subtract the rent, and invest what is left over. So let's see how much that is. Obviously for 2021, this will be a lump sum of 124,322 euros, and then it's roughly 10,000 dropping down to 7,600 a year. The first year, instead of making a down payment to the bank, we can invest that as the lump sum. During the following years, we invest whatever amount is left after rent. So we invest in a globally diversified portfolio of index funds of, let's say, 70% stocks and 30% bonds. A historical analysis tells us that this portfolio has earned an average annual return of 7.9% between 2005 and 2020. Warning, we also have to take into account the transaction tax for every investment that we make. When investing in index funds, the transaction tax equals to 0.12% of the total amount invested. All right, so that was a lot of numbers. Which one turns out to be best? Finally, we have the data needed to answer this question. So in 2041, 20 years from now, we estimate that the value of our house will be 800,313 euros, scenario 1. The value of our investments will be 1,065 euros and 430 cents, scenario 2. It looks like we end up in a better position if we rent and invest, especially the down payment and registration tax make a big difference, because an investment made early on compounds to spectacular sums of money over time. However, the numbers are actually close enough that both scenarios are considered equally good investments. Indeed, a small change in one or two of the most important parameters, the growth of house prices and the return of portfolio index funds, can actually significantly change the results of the simulation. The most significant assumptions of our simulation are the resale prices of apartments keep rising at 4.22%. There are signs that Belgian houses are overvalued because the actual average income of Belgians has not actually grown as much as the house prices have. If the increase in house prices slows down considerably, passive investing obviously becomes a much better option. The return on passive investing stays at around 7.9%. If the markets don't do as well for the next 20 years, property will be obviously a far better investment. Honestly, there's far too much uncertainty around these two parameters to make a confident prediction that you'll be better off with one over the other. However, the simulation has shown that you can't go wrong with either investing in a house or investing in index funds. Warning though, selling a house is harder than selling your investments. So when you're viewing property as an investment, it's important to consider that a house is much harder to sell than index funds. It usually takes several months from the moment you put the house up for sale to handing over the keys to the next owners. The process can even take years if the market is especially cold. So it may also involve costs. For instance, if you solicit the help of a real estate agent or you actually spend a lot of time on it. So furthermore, you cannot sell, just say 10% of your house. It's all or nothing. You cannot sell part of your property. Passive investing obviously does not suffer from these constraints. Selling your investments is a matter of minutes instead of months. And also the portion of the investments that you actually do sell are completely up to you. In finance jargon, they say that index funds are more liquid than real estate. The freedom that passive investing gives compared to investing in property is an additional consideration too. But it's up to you to run the simulation yourself. We did all the calculations, we put it on a Google Sheets spreadsheet, which we've linked below in the video description, so feel free to make a copy of it. Change the parameters according to your situation, the mortgage rate you've been offered, and also you can even do it for your country. So just head onto that Google Sheet, go to File, make a copy. The parameters are there. They're indicated in green. Altering one of the parameters will instantly rerun the simulation. And so some ending thoughts on this. It was a good exercise. It taught us that both passive investing and buying a property are actually good investments because of the unpredictability of the future. It's actually hard to predict at this point which one is actually better for our wealth. The simulations show that the strategy of renting and investing is a better investment long term than buying a house. But honestly, if you do decide to purchase a property, then make sure you cover your mortgage payments and continue forming the habit of putting money away and passively investing it on the side to grow your nest egg and have diversification. However, if we step away from viewing a house as an investment, having your own home provides a real sense of independence and safety that passive investing cannot give you. Whatever happens in the world, you'll have a place that is yours. And that, for me, is a really important criterion that cannot be reflected in a simulation or a spreadsheet. So do try the simulation yourself, though, and let us know which option you actually ended up going for. Don't hesitate to leave us your comments, and we'll get back to you and answer any questions you have. All right, thanks for watching.